In the northern regions of the United States in the early 1840s was situated three villages that were closely aligned and later syndicated into one city known as Milwaukee. It was host very early to fur traders and more than 20,000 settlers, so by its incorporation in 1848 saw rapid growth as it attracted an influx of German immigrants to the area, bringing with them the skills for industry, refined culture, and political involvement. Foundries were established in metalworking, and it was also home to one of the earliest large-scale brewers known as Best Brewing, later renamed Pabst Brewing Company, built by German immigrant Philip Best in the 1840s. It is with that backdrop that our story begins with Karl Marr, the American artist. Karl Marr was born on February 14, 1858. The environment in which he grew up had something profoundly artistic about it. His father was not only an enthusiastic art lover, but was also professionally involved in the art of engraving and woodcutting himself. Karl would gain some rudimentary training as a youth by a local painter, but by 20 years old he was off to Germany for serious art study. He bounced around to a few different academies before finding his way to Munich and his most influential painter, Gabriel Max. Gabriel Cornelius Max was the son of the sculptor Joseph Max and received his first artistic training in history painting from his father. But Karl would make a brief return visit back to the States in 1880, to Milwaukee. Then after 2 years, in 1882, decided to return and become a student of Wilhelm Lindenschmidt the Younger, whose direction was fundamentally opposite to Gabriel Max's, joining the Lindenschmidt School exhibition at the Munich Art Association, in which Karl found Lindenschmidt to be an excellent, unobtrusive teacher who never crushed any of his students' independent spirit or strongly held personal goals for the sake of professional firmness. Such a teacher was the right man for Karl Marr. As many a young artist discovers, it is the choices made that can make or break a career. But it was expressed concerning Karl Marr that his extraordinarily easy receptiveness and his technical skill could easily have led Marr down the wrong path if he had not come into the hands of a very unconventional teacher. But Lindenschmidt let everyone go their own way and be guided in their own way. So it was a long battle that Marr had to fight for his style. His artistic power was far too great for him to have gone any other way than his own, as demonstrated by this early work of the Spinners, sometimes missed, titled The Gossips. It fully displays his design acumen and well-established drawing skills that everyone could see. It can be seen in his plain air work that he was right on target for breadth and subtlety of colour. The landscape is not made murky in tone, as was commonly in use of earlier painters. The prevailing influence of the age for correct values was not lost by Marr, for he was in full control of his talent, and he explored every avenue of sound composition, and the searching for subject matter did not get in the way. He made use of sketching everything in paint, unafraid to explore, something we find in the comments by John Sargent, whose admonition was to paint whatever was in front of you and stay fresh. It can be seen by the portrait of Karl Marr by Edelfelt that freshness and painterliness were gaining steam among artists by mid-19th century. This marvellous portrait of Marr has the liveliness and penetration of character that are hallmarks of fine painting. It also gives us a glance that artists were very much in communion with each other, but can sometimes get lost in written texts. Marr took every possible opportunity to work outdoors, and we shall see that it led to his monumental works later. That firmly put him on the map. The wonderful sketches in paint steered him to his more finished compositions, and how wonderful they are. The rural setting of the painting, titled The Lovers, is a setting that expresses the mood in paint, and the carefully chosen muted colour notes richly express the sentiment of one onlooker to the distant couple not far away. Then we come to the exquisite work of the sun-dappled park in the summer afternoon of 1892, where all the sketches and plein air studies manifested themselves into a rich composition full of figures, chickens, and dotted sunspots on the ground. No easy feat for any artist to convey, but Marr is once again able to master entirely. As we come to his works of interior settings, we find the same searching in paint, that he follows through toward a final, well-thought-out composition. He is at the same time working on imaginative pictures, which will lead him to his mural work later on. His thinking is as a solid workman in every regard, with no stone left unturned. He also paints the figure where he further explores lofty themes and possibilities for topics for future commissions, something painters enjoy working out unattached to direct copying from nature to an imaginary concept. Often this type of planning was the usual ideal for the painter of the 19th century. Carl painted his family often, and we have 4 very striking works of the highest order to review. Firstly, his father at his workshop, and then another portrait in profile, followed by 2 paintings of his mother. The workshop painting is a tour de force in every regard. He is alive in the portrait. The setting is a tribute to a father who is also a craftsman. It's a touching, well-lit painting, rich in texture and detail. The painting of his father in profile is also striking, and very well drawn, and it looks to be a kind of tribute to him as he sits for his artist son, who accomplished his chosen profession with great skill and full of honours. Then we come to the amazing and penetrating portrait of Mother, who sits, it seems, at the studio as she looks out from her glasses as a proud parent. The detail is amazing and offers the same fine observations of character and technique that are remarkable and very well done. And in the last portrait of the 4 is his mother, as she is glancing to her right, which looks to be a cameo of sorts with the oval outline meant for a frame. Again, beautifully modelled features, softly lit and painterly. Carl Marr reversed the customary practice and moved from the New World to the Old. Leaving his native Milwaukee for Germany, he remained in Germany for most of his life. He studied with leading painters at the Royal Academy, before continuing on to Berlin and then Munich. He made great success in both worlds, culminating in his appointment to Director of the Royal Academy in Munich, and honoured with knighthood in 3 European countries. One can see his output in artworks was extensive, and only a few have been revealed over the years, but what we have here is a wonderful sampling. His range, as we have seen, is very wide for subject matter, and Carl did a number of religious paintings and figure works that are largely studio productions in nature, meaning that the themes are of those types that can be conjured up within the mind of the artist, and therefore free to explore each topic. He seems to apply different motifs for any given idea. For example, he harkens back in style at times to the old master format, with the flattish background as a supporting element to the figures, while at other times he seeks out a more representational approach to the picture, as evident in the new art that the 19th century fostered in, with the advances in technique of out-of-door colouring, as Sorolla has suggested, that the biggest advance being the addition of violet tones that better corresponded to nature. Carl Marr did a number of canvases of nudes as well, that figured into his larger canvases, some simply for the practice of the figure, and others employed into a mural or otherwise larger canvases. His colour range prompted him to develop odd combinations for the very sake of freedom. His options and explorations were his to follow, and as director of a school of painting, who is going to question him? Now we move on to his tour de force, that he carefully planned as his all-important statement that he had indeed arrived. Carl von Marr was not the most famous artist whose work was on view at the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, commonly known as the Chicago World's Fair, but his painting titled The Flagellants quickly became one of the most popular with visitors. Von Marr took 4 years to complete the painting, determined that it would establish his reputation as an artist. Although by the late 1880s large-scale history paintings were becoming a rarity, he did not waver in his conviction that his would be a once-seen, never-forgotten painting. Groups of people emerged, claiming to atone as a means of salvation, banding together for 33 days to symbolize the 33 years of Christ's life on earth. They roamed from city to city, enacting solemn performances several times a day that drew huge crowds. The groups also promoted the notion of fear and hysteria, and likely helped to spread the disease. Most cities and towns eventually barred the processions. The trauma of the plague played out in people's psyches for years after it had run its course. Karl Marr's acclaim in the United States includes first prize at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893 for his magnum opus, the Flagellants, currently a part of the collection of the Milwaukee Art Museum. As we come to the final part of our presentation, we wanted to add Carl von Marr to the list of important painters and make known his contribution to great picture making. And we want to thank our subscribers who helped the channel to grow, true aficionados. Also, please leave a like, as it promotes our efforts. We have many more fine painters coming in future presentations. So till next time, bye for now.